Alrighty, we are recording. See how this goes. It's always best not to have the tools on the table. If that matters. Anyway, got the trusty WD-40. Need to loosen up a few things here. It's good to give them a little bit of a penetrating oil. Actually, what we're going to look at first, these ring clips off. Not. Oh man, I hate it when they break my gloves. There we go. Oh, that hose does not want to come off. Okie dokie. So we're missing 2 screws over there. There's a bracket that goes there that holds the cable that goes to the accelerator, the throttle cable. On this side we have a bracket called the choke. Give that a bit of what for. Let them sit a little. Let's have a look. These ones are usually shit. Turn very slowly with a lot of downward force. You can usually get them. That one has had its shit chewed out of it. Let's see now, let's go. This one. Yep. This one doesn't look good. Oh, it's still turning though. Down really slow. Okay, this one looks terrible. Looks like someone did the old trick. My brother taught me about this. You get an angle grinder and cut across the top of the screw, turn it into a flathead. Didn't even need to get up for that one. Best thing to do is to replace all these screws with Allen key heads. So I still actually have the screws from the last one. You can see they're a bit screwed too. The screws are screwed. Alright, let's get the float valves off. 2 more to go. I'll probably speed this section up. Alrighty. Very dirty. Let's see what we've got. This one moves a lot compared to this one. Main jet, pilot, floats. That's your needle jet sort of stopper. It comes up inside of there, so the diameter, I think the diameter of the inside of that makes a difference. And then down in here, which is what I want to get to right now, is the float needle and seat. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, this came off that pin should just go all the way through and pop out. That one's a bit tight. Not a bad thing. Okay. Caution. When working with brass, always be very gentle. Try and use full head spanners like this ring spanner, so you get a really good bite on it, and just gently undo it because they strip so easily. The first carburetor I pulled apart, these actually snapped off. One was already snapped off. It's way down there somewhere. I think I've got it here somewhere actually. And the other one snapped when I undone it, because they can just be really loose. And there's a washer there too, so it's a spacer. Because there's a needle right there connected through to the other side to the diaphragm, and the distance of that needle in and out determines how much fuel is getting squirted into the system. And so you can actually adjust how far in that comes, which is why you need the spacers, otherwise it won't come in all the way. I believe that's the case. Warning, I am not a motorcycle mechanic, or any mechanic for that matter. I'm a web developer, but I like to pull things apart. There is the wonderful float. You usually have to adjust these two knobs, determine the float height. It's very important. Float needle valve. That one looks a bit worn. I need to get my glasses, but the knob on the end looks a bit dodgy. Now, the important part that I want, there's a screw, keeps the seat in place. Need a small screwdriver. Oh, yeah, she's tight, mate. WD-40 actually contains petroleum, so it's quite good to blast on things. Still a high guarded secret to this day what the fuck's in that bottle. Okay, now, oh, that one came out really nice. This can be a bit of a bitch to get out. There's usually a 1.2 mil for this most Mikuni anyway. This is a Mikuni carb off a 2006 GT250R Hyosung. It's based off the Mikuni BDS 26 mil intake port. Well, that's the intake, sorry. That's the manifold feed into the intake of the cylinder. That's 26 millimeters in diameter, so it's a rather small one, but that's what it's based off. It's always good to give these a clean, but if you do, it's probably a good idea to take off that gasket because it's made out of rubber. And anything like good old SCA Super Cheap Auto carb cleaner will eat through rubber like no tomorrow. On the first carb, I forgot to take this off and it chewed all the way through it and completely disintegrated it. And you want to take the filter off. Sometimes the filter's not really important, being that you should have an inline filter anyway. That's what I read on the Mikuni website. That filter is not overly necessary if you have an inline filter, but you know, depending on how much grunt you want to get out of your bike, you might want to change that. When I got my bike, it didn't have an inline filter. They'd removed it and replaced it with a petcock valve, which I thought was right next to me somewhere, but it probably is and I just can't see it. And I replaced that with an actual filter. Okay. Shit. Main jet usually has a number on it. I think it does, but the problem is I can't see things that small with my eyes anymore. I think I can see a number. So this being a 2006 GT250R, this is the back side. Goes on the bike actually like that. To the back of the bike, to the front of the bike, because that's where the fuel comes in, feeds through there, goes both cylinders, fills up the float bowl. It's usually 92.5, 95. I've oversized mine, which most people say is a good thing to do, because they're always set, from what I've read and what I've gathered, these sort of carburetors in the old style bikes, especially in the 2000s, emissions was a big thing. So if you're in Australia, you probably won't have an EGR or a return, where they actually return some of the exhaust back into the intake. It's for emissions. It's very common in the United States, but I haven't seen it. It's not on my bike, and I don't think they use it in Australia. There's a bypass for that. But what they do is they usually tune these carburetors specifically for emissions more than anything. Emissions first, and then performance on top of that. So you'll get smaller main jets. That's what I believe I've seen so far. Like, again, reading articles. I've got access to the Makuni website. I've got access to the service manual for this bike. But yeah, I've oversized mine, and then what you do is this needle, when you take out here, that whole needle, which is actually right there, this is connected to the vacuum. That's the needle. Way down in there, that thing right there is the needle that comes through here, goes through to here. It actually is along, at the top there's actually a C-clip, and then usually by standard it's in the middle. So what you do is you put in bigger jets, move the C-clip down one, so it opens up more and lets in more fuel. I don't know, my bike actually came with wrong jets. It came with a 95 and a 100 on the back. I think it was on the back. It had mangled bits and pieces everywhere. These seats for the float valve, the float needle seat, were mangled, and they were really hard to get out, which is why I'm really stoked I picked up this carburetor. Cost brand new about $800-ish AUD Australian. I got this whole carb sent to me in 2 days for $100 AUD. And the guy actually sent me the whole cluster as well, which was so cool. But anyway, let's continue on. You've got the seat for the main jet. Now what you want to do, bad man, you don't have your tools on the table, because you go to pick them up and then you knock off screws and stuff like that. I've done it before. Oh, again, very gentle. Try and find a driver that is as close as possible to that size, so you can take out the jet. All this stuff has to be cleaned. There's a lot of corrosion around the edges of that. Seizing. Actually, it looks really dry in some places, which is kind of strange. I don't know what could be the cause of that. Old fuel hasn't been run for a long time. It's all dried out. So you've really got to get into all these holes and joints, and there's a whole little teeny weeny hole. You've got to hold it up to the light and have a look through it. I can see this one's blocked a little bit, so that needs to be cleaned. You've got the pilot. This jet on the side here is basically for start and idle. If your bike won't idle or start well, this is blocked, and they get blocked really easy. Again, it has a really teeny weeny hole in it. I'll hold it up to the light. I can just see through it, so it's not completely blocked, but it needs a clean. I got a little tool from Bunnings here in Australia, which is basically, it's actually used for cleaning the tips of welding tools, and they go down really, really, really fine and really small. Actually, there was a couple of thinner ones on this. What does it say? It says like 6 mil or something like that. It's a cleaning tip number 6. I don't think it's actually the size, but you've got a little file. You can get a proper carb cleaning toolkit like that, which actually has the correct sizes for your carburetor. I just haven't been able to buy one locally, but it's on my list of things to buy. I've spent an absolute, well, not a fortune, but you know, I spent $300 just recently buying new bits for the carburetor on my bike, and then just as I bought that, I found this, and then the guy sold it to me straight off the bat. I didn't have to wait, and actually got it to me within 2 days. Actually, no, yeah, I bought it on Sunday. Today is Tuesday lunchtime, and I've already got the bike. I've got the carb, sorry. You've got to be careful when you pull it out, because it comes with the needle. That one looks a lot better than the other one. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but the tip that has a bit of a groove, looks like it has a bit of an indent in it, and that's because fuel comes from the main system in through here, fills up the bowl. The float pushes this into the hole and stops the fuel from flowing, because you want to keep the bowl as full as possible, but you don't want it to overflow, which is happening to mine right now. I might do a video of pulling the other one out. This has all been bent in and cracked up, so that the needle doesn't go in and out very well, or it's leaking. So when it's like sitting, this is actually upside down and full of fuel, and then mine basically starts pissing fuel out of this hole here, which is what it's for, is to overflow. And for when the bike, if the bike tips over, it allows fuel to flow out somewhere else, not on top of you. You don't really want fuel dripping on top of your hot cylinders, which I did have, which is bad. So I've got to stop putting my towels. Oh man. Come on, baby. No, that one doesn't want to turn. Shit. Long driver. Yeah, she does not want to turn. Bit more magic sauce. The first time I put one of these together, I had a problem with it starting, and my brother said, what you got to do, because it doesn't actually have fuel in it. And these systems use a vacuum style pump where fuel comes in and then goes out, and this connects to the intake side of after the carburetor but before the cylinder. So every time it pumps or does a compression, it actually pumps fuel for you. And it's also connected to a petcock valve, which actually looks like this, and it works on the same principle in that that goes into your fuel tank, fuel comes out there, that connects to the other cylinder intake manifold, and so they are pumping at different times. That's basically just a valve, open and then pump, open, pump, open, pump. And I found on mine, and I've seen a lot of reports, that what happens is this stuffs up the pumping side, so people take it apart, pull the spring and the valve out of it completely, so it just flows constantly. And if that starts to leak, which mine did badly, and then you've always got fuel flowing to your carburetor, which can be a problem too. So mine was overflowing, and then what I found was that it was actually flowing through here and filling up my intake full of fuel. So when I go to start it, it just go conk, because it's hydro locking, because you can't compress liquid. can only compress a gas. You can compress a gas and turn it into a liquid, but you can't compress a liquid. That needs to go over here with that. I need a better method of keeping my shit together. Technically these are all spare parts because I've already got a bike with a carb on it, but I need some of these parts for that bike, and one of them is the one that I can't friggin' get out. Okay, get the other screwdriver. No, it's rooted now. It will not come out. Of course it had to be the part that I want the most. Shit, and it's in just an absolute shithole of a spot. I need an impact driver. Yay. You son of a bitch. Well, that one looks pretty good though. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have a battery drill that works at the moment. Otherwise I'd get it and ratchet the shit out of that. Even if I destroyed it, I don't care. One, I actually do have some spares for that particular screw. They're not good, but they're okay. Yeah. I have enough to replace it. There's another one there. I think that's the one I took out, maybe. But I've got 3 of those, so destroying it's not a big deal. Let's see if I give it a couple of taps. Get a bit more of a soaky soak. I think because that's got petroleum and that in it, it's okay. I haven't found it, the WD-40 has a problem when spraying plastics and stuff like that, not like carb cleaner. Displaces moisture, cleans and protects. Yeah, what I really want is an impact driver. Oh no, I don't. It's done. Yay. Big thanks to my bro Shane. He pulls more cars apart than I've owned. Does that make sense? No, I think he owns 2 or 3 cars and he's pulled all of them apart multiple times and replaced engines, and he knows his shits. That actually looks okay. Oh, I think I nailed it just a little bit there. Getting it out. Fucking hell. Because I can't see. Suckful. Getting old. Awesome. Yeah. What have we got? Let's get rid of this bracket here. Is for the try the trick again. Which that in itself is a bad idea, because all your stuff on your table jumps 50,000 miles. That one doesn't want to move, but luckily, if you're doing this sort of thing, these are indispensable. There you go. Done. You need the multi-grips, mate. Best thing ever. Because when I took the float bowls off the other carb, the multi-grips, I needed them to undo at least 3 or 4 of the screws because they were just completely shredded. And you get the same problem up here as well sometimes. Nothing like a good squirt. Doo-doo-doo. Of course, now it's all slippery and stuff, so you got to be careful. Yeah, I might have put a little bit too much on. I think I have a socket for that. Nope, that's bloody Imperial. No, 8 and 6. 10, 11. Well, that's nice. They left out 7. Doesn't anyone love 7? Multi-grips to the rescue. See, a couple of turns, mate. Easy peasy. Yeah, that one doesn't want to be easy peasy now, does it? I think they're like 5 or 6 mil. Actually, they actually go all the way. You can go all the way through, so they don't have to be exactly the same size. I replaced some of them on the other bike. Ah, it's eating through my glove. Ah. Not that one doesn't want to come off either. Okay, well, we're gonna have to come back to that one another time. They put the washer at the top. Really? Let's go at the top or the bottom? I thought it went at the bottom. There you go.